Welcome to their online Sunday service. We're so glad you joined us today. Whether it's your first time with us or you've been part of our family of faith for years, we are praying for you, and we hope to see you on a Sunday morning very soon. Now, this is an online service, and so whether you're got juice or coffee, you're good. Whether you're in your Sunday best or your pajamas, you're good. Whether you're in your room or your couch, you get the picture. I want to encourage you just to let your faith in your heart be stirred up today. Let's enjoy some great music and powerful worship together.
The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, he is with you, in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 he is for you. Before you and behind you and beside you,
I want to share with you the scripture that this song is built on. It's in the book of Numbers. It says, "May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace." One of the things that this song and scripture teach us is that God wants to bless you. God wants you to experience his smile in your life. God wants you to sense his peace and his favor. When I was in school, we had a teacher, Mr. Starner, who loved the scripture, had it memorized. At the end of every class, he would speak it over his students. I want to encourage you to take this scripture and many others and hide it in your heart and speak it over yourself, over your family, over your business, over your dreams. God wants to bless us. The question is, how much do we want to be blessed? Will we position ourselves for God's blessing? And you say, how do you position yourself? First of all, you humble yourself, and then you say, yes, Lord. You say yes to his word, yes to his promises, yes to his son. And I want to ask you just to bow your head and pray with me in this moment. Heavenly Father, we thank you that you love us. We think that you are for us. You are with us. You want the best. Lord, we just receive right now your grace and your peace and your blessing wherever we are into our lives, into our hearts. We receive your blessing today. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to encourage you to not go anywhere. In just a moment, Pastor Mike is going to share part 2 of Defining Moments with us.
Even though we're making adjustments to help stop the spread of COVID-19, please remember that BVCC is not closed. Sure, our meeting schedule has changed, but our ministry goes on. In fact, it's more important than ever as people search for steady ground in these uncertain times. That's why we're incredibly grateful for your faithful and financial support during these unusual days. Obviously, there's no way to pass around an offering bucket during an online service. We have several other methods for giving, and we're counting on you to choose one. You can visit our website at bonitavalley.com/giving. You can text Bonita Valley to 77977. You can give by using the BVCC app, or you can mail offerings to BVCC at 4744 Bonita Road, Bonita, California, 91902.
Hey, it's great to be with you today on this beautiful San Diego weekend. I'm telling you, this is the San Diego weather that we have been waiting for. In fact, it's so nice outside. My encouragement to you is to go grab your bathing suit, grab a beach chair, set it up in your living room, turn your TV on, put a virtual beach seat on there, and enjoy the rest of the day with your family. Hey, before we jump into the message today, one of the things I want to just say, over the last week or so, I've had some different friends reaching out to me, wanting to make sure that given the events that have taken place over the last 4 or 5 weeks, that I'm okay. Not anything to do with my health. It's not anything to do with the virus. They're just concerned, and they want to know how I'm doing emotionally, given the fact that last month, Tom Brady signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And just a few days ago, the news is out there that Rob Gronkowski came out of retirement to go to the Buccaneers as well. So it's going to be Tom and Gronk together again, making history, doing what they do. And people, my friends out there, they just want to know, hey, are you okay with what's going on? And I just got to tell you, I just want you to know I'm okay. It's going to be okay. And the reason why I can say this is because this last week, Tom and I were able to spend a few minutes together. We've had a 20-year friendship, and we were able to just kind of take a few minutes, spend some time together, friend to friend, just giving ourselves the opportunity one more time to spend some time together before we say goodbye.
Let me tell you about him, he's so much fun, 'cause he's my best friend. Yeah, he's my best friend. La la, ba da da da, yeah, ba da da da.
So Tom, I wish you good luck, but not too much. Hey, last Sunday we kicked off a 2-part series called Defining Moments. And we looked at the story of Habakkuk, and we learned how we can turn a disruptive moment into a defining moment. That no matter what we find ourselves facing in our life, we can come to a place where we can say, God is still God, He is still good, even when life is not. Today, I want to close this time out by looking at one more defining moment story in the Bible. In fact, it's a story that I found myself being drawn to a couple of weeks ago after a conversation with my wife that we had about this stay-at-home mandate. Maybe many of you have had those kind of conversations as well. Well, this was a late night conversation. She looked at me, she said, do you realize that when this is all over, you'll have missed the whole thing? And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean? She said, well, think about it. She said, you've not been in a single store. You have no idea what it's like to walk down an aisle that has no food on the shelves. You have no idea what it's like to race to the toilet paper aisle only to find it empty over and over and over again. You have no idea what it's like to stand outside in a line, waiting your turn to go inside, and then having to follow the arrows of tape on the floor to make sure that you are going the right direction as you go up and down the aisle. She said, you'll have missed the whole thing. And I started laughing because she was right. Because I've not been in a single store ever since the second weekend in February. On February 10th, I had partial knee replacement surgery, and I jumped right into my recovery time, my rehab time, and then it was shortly after that where the virus hit, and then the mandate was put into effect, and I've not been in a single store. The only thing that I've done, literally the only things that I've done over the last several weeks that all this has been going on, I've gone to physical therapy, I've gone to Walgreens to pick up some prescriptions. I can drive now to make sure to pick that up, but then I've also come here to the church to do what I need to do here at work. But the bottom line is she's right. I will have missed the whole thing when it comes to those areas. Later that night, when I was laying in bed, I was thinking about her statement, you will have missed the whole thing. And all of a sudden, 4 words came to my mind. 4 words that ever since I started thinking about them, I've not been able to get away from. 4 words that really brings a different angle at how we can look at defining moments with. And the 4 words were simply this: don't miss your moment. Don't miss your moment. And as I thought about those words, and I began to realize that in the same way that we know that life has a way of throwing disruptive moments at us, I realize as well that there will also be times that you and I will find ourselves coming face to face with significant moments in our life where we can either meet it or we can miss it. We can either step into it or we can shrink back from it. I'm okay with being able to look back and realizing that I missed out on, racing through the store or panic shopping. I'm okay missing out on any of those things. But what I'm not okay with is missing out or looking back on moments during this time where I wish I would have done more, where I wish I would have leveraged my time and my abilities and my position in a way where I could have done more to make a difference in the lives of people better. When I started thinking about those 4 words, don't miss your moment, my mind started tracking through the Bible and thinking about different stories of people who found themselves face to face with a moment. Those who met the moment and stepped into it, and those who pulled back and missed the moment. There's so many stories that we can look at. All you got to do is go back to, if you want to look at kind of the defining moment of missed opportunity moments, just go to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. And we're living through the effects right now because of their miss that took place in their moment, their defining moment. I thought also of the story of Joseph. I mean, what a powerful story. He's one of the favorite Bible characters that we have. And we look at his story and you see that moment where he was sold off as a slave by his brothers who were jealous of him, and he lost decades of his life with his family. And there's this powerful defining moment in his life where he was now ascended to second in command in Egypt. He had position and he had power. And when his brothers came to Egypt to buy food because of a famine in the land, he had everything he needed in that moment to exact revenge on his brothers. But instead, in that moment, what he chose to do was to forgive. And he looked at them and said, what you meant for evil, God turned it into something that was good. And who can obviously skip over the story of David and Goliath? I mean, think about that for a moment with David's defining moment. Can you imagine how different the Bible would read if David had not defeated Goliath in that moment? Story after story we can come across. But the one story that I found myself thinking about that night after that conversation with Joni, that I found myself coming to, is a story that I just think captures the impact that one person can have when they choose to meet the moment that they are face to face with and not miss it. And that's the story of Queen Esther. The story of Esther is one of the most well-known love stories in all the Bible. It really is. It's the story of this young Jewish girl named Esther who found herself face to face with a defining moment, and what she did in that moment was so significant that it is a holiday that is still celebrated today by the Jewish people called Purim. It's impossible to try to walk through in detail a story that spans 10 chapters in one message, but that's not even my goal here today. My goal today is for us to see how Esther, facing her defining moment, can inspire us when we find ourselves face to face with ours. Let me set the story up for you. There's 4 main characters that you read about in the story. First one is a guy named King Xerxes. Here's a guy who was somewhat of a dysfunctional king who was the overseer, the ruler of the Persian kingdom. He had a little bit of craziness in him, though. In fact, if you go back and you do some study of him and you look at historians, there's some writings about him where there's this crazy moment where he found himself so angry at the ocean because there were bridges destroyed by the waves that he ordered his men to take chains and to whip the ocean 300 times in order to let the ocean know who was boss. He wanted to put the ocean in his place. Guy was crazy. Here's a guy who banished his wife, Queen Vashti, from his presence because she refused to come to him when he called for her. And that set up a whole new season of The Bachelor, which set really in motion this new search for a new queen, somebody who would become the next wife of the king. And that's where Esther comes into the story. Here's this beautiful young Jewish girl, really an orphan. Her parents died when she was younger. She was adopted by her cousin Mordecai. She found herself in a place where she was taken from her home, living with Mordecai, because the search that took place for all the beautiful women in the land, she was so amazing with her beauty that she was brought to the king's palace, put in a harem of other women. But yet the Bible tells us that her beauty and everything about her so outshined all the other women that she found herself becoming the next queen and the wife of the king. What's interesting about her story is that she never told anyone about her Jewish nationality, not until later on in the story when a defining moment took place. And the one thing that you notice about Esther's life is everything you read about her story, the favor of God was on her life. Mordecai was her cousin. He's the third person who is a major part of this story. More than just a cousin, he was a mentor to her as well. He advised her, he counseled her. And where he really becomes a player in the story, it happened in a moment where he was out in the courtyard outside the palace gates and he heard 2 of the king's attendants plotting to assassinate the king. Well, he went back and he passed on that information to Esther, who passed on that information to the king, and ultimately the 2 guys were executed. And Mordecai later on was rewarded for his loyalty to the king. And that sets up the 4th character that comes into the story, and that's a man named Haman. Haman was the Hitler of his day. He really was. Here's a guy who was given position and authority by the king. He was so full of himself that everywhere he went, he expected everyone to bow down when he walked by. But Mordecai refused. He was not going to bow down. And that made Haman so angry that he decided in that moment that not only would he get his revenge by taking out Mordecai and dealing with Mordecai, but the way that he was going to get his revenge was by executing all of the Jewish people as well. And the Bible tells us that what Haman did is he went and he grabbed some dice called pur. And he threw those dice, and the reason why he did was the number that came up was going to be the date set in the future that was going to be the day when all the Jews were going to be executed. And that date that set up was for almost a year later in the story. And it's right here in this moment when Haman issued the decree that all the Jews were going to be executed a year from now, where Esther's story pivots. And her defining moment is about to be set up, and she has no idea what's even unfolding. See, she's living in the palace bubble at this time and has no idea that Mordecai was so upset about this decree that had been issued that the Bible says that he tore his clothes and he mourned this decree out in the courtyard. News made its way back to Esther in the palace that Mordecai was in mourning and was so upset. And because she didn't know what was happening, she sent her attendants to go down and to ask him, what is bothering you that has caused you to be so upset that you are going through a time of mourning? And this is where we pick up the story in Esther chapter 4, verse 8. And here's what it says. And Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the death of all the Jews. And he asked Hathach to show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. He also asked Hathach to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and to plead for her people. And so Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. And then Esther told Hathach to go back and relay this message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die. You want to talk about a death sentence? They're doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. And so Hathach gave Esther's message to Mordecai. For Esther, life and death were hanging in the balance on both sides. For the Jews on one side, for herself on the other side. Can you imagine the moment that she found herself facing? Do something and she could die. Do nothing and not only would all the Jews die, but she could lose her life as well. And her first response was, I don't know how I can move forward and do anything about this situation that we're facing. But here's where Mordecai steps in. Here's where Mordecai, the mentor, comes into the moment one more time with one of the most memorable passages, statements in the Bible that you're going to read anywhere. And here's what he said. Verse 13. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for Jews will arise from some other place. In other words, Mordecai is saying, hey, God will raise up someone else, but you and your relatives will die. And here's the statement right here where he says, who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? Now let's just hit the pause button here for a moment because this is a powerful moment. This is the moment where everything is hinging on. See here, Mordecai, the mentor, is just challenging her. He's wanting her to know, Esther, what you are facing right now is your right now moment. This is your defining moment. This is your for such a time as this moment. And as the story unfolds, the Bible shows us that this was the wake-up call that Esther needed. And Mordecai's words moved her to action, so much so where the Bible says that she called for a 3-day fast from Mordecai, and she asked him to gather all the Jewish people and herself and her attendants to fast and pray for 3 days. And the impact of those days of fasting was so clear and so evident. You could see it in the wisdom and the timing that she used to approach the king. 2 different times, she organized 2 different banquets where she tactfully prepared the environment and was able to set the scene up for her to be able to step into the moment when she would finally come to the place where she would expose to the king the plot and the plan of Haman to execute all the Jewish people, which would include herself. See, this is the moment when the tables are turned. This is the moment resulting not only in the deliverance of all the Jewish people, but also the time when all of their enemies would be defeated, including Haman. And I just want to encourage you, go back, read through all 10 chapters of this amazing story and let it encourage you, let it challenge you. There is so many rich takeaways from this story when you think about it. But what I want us to do for the next few minutes that we have together is I want us to camp out for a moment on the words that Mordecai spoke to Esther. That amazing statement where he said, who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? Have you ever found yourself reading through the story of Esther and wondered, could God ever use you the same way that he used her? You ever thought about that? You ever read through her story and looked at the difference that she made with her life and wondered, God, could you ever use me in as significant a way as you used Esther? I'm not talking necessarily about doing something in a way that maybe saves a nation. It's possible. You know, God can use us to that degree. But wondering, God, could you ever use my life in a way that really mattered, in a way that really left a mark, in a way that altered destinies, in a way that really changed someone's life, all because I said yes in a moment where I chose to meet it instead of miss it? God, could you use me the same way that you used Esther? When I think about that question and I look at the story of Esther, do you realize that there are dozens of takeaways that we can take from the story of Esther literally? We can talk about how God has a plan for our lives, and we can talk about how he can redeem any part of our broken story. We can talk about the sovereignty of God that threads its way through the entire 10-chapter story of Esther, yet the name of God is not mentioned even one time. But there's a takeaway from his story that I think is at the heart of it. Yet it's one that is easily overlooked because it's not profound. But even though it's not profound, it's a takeaway that can have a profound impact on any given day if we will recognize it. And it's just simply this, and it's the big idea that I want to talk about here for a moment, and it's this. Don't miss your moment to make a difference where you are right now. Let me say that one more time. Don't miss your moment to make a difference with your life with where you are living in a right now moment. See, let me tell you what I'm talking about there. When you think about the moment that you're living in right now, I realize that many of us find ourselves in a place where we may not want to be right now, under quarantine, walking through what we're walking through. I get that. All of us can find ourselves on that same journey with the same emotions that we're processing and trying to figure it out. But for you and I also, we need to remember that this is a right now moment for us. Think about that. See, we're living at a time in history where we have an opportunity to make a difference with our life right now. You see, right now is where influence happens. Right now is where leadership shows up. Right now is where family time can take place. Right now is where compassion happens. Right now is where becoming the hands and feet of Jesus happens. I want to encourage all of us today, don't ever overlook or underestimate the power of where you are at right now in your life, because you have no idea how God can take your right now moment and use it to bring hope and encouragement to somebody else's life as well. Let me give you some great examples of some from our church family who found themselves face to face with the right now moment and the difference that they were able to make. I think of Damien and Bonita Hurt, who attend Bonita Valley here. They're highly involved, and they found themselves with, when the stay-at-home mandate took place, that meant that all the schools were going to be shut down. And because of that, it also meant that school lunches and school breakfasts were not going to be served as well. And when that took place, Bonita posted this on Facebook. Here's what she wrote. If the school closures have you concerned about your child not being able to eat breakfast or lunch, let me know. I will do what I can to help. A box of cereal, gallon of milk, bread, peanut butter and jelly, just let me know. Feel free to private message me, no judgment. P.S. If you are ever worried about how you're going to feed your child, please contact me and we will get it done. What was really amazing to see after she posted that were the comments that people wrote, were people who not only said, Bonita, not only is this amazing, I want to be a part of it. Something fired up inside of their hearts as well, where they wanted to make a difference with their ability in their right now moment. See, she might not have had access to a king like Esther did, but what she did have was access to her kitchen. And she stepped into that moment and she said, I'm going to make a difference with what I have, and I'm going to make sandwiches because I don't want any child to be hungry on my watch. It was a powerful moment. Listen, friends, don't miss your moment to make a difference with your life where you are right now, just like Damien and Bonita. I think of another story with Michael Bernardo. He's on our worship team, is a big part of our church, and here he found himself having a right now moment when he became an advocate for all the trash men and the trash women that are out there. He wanted to make sure that they were safe, and he put a post on Facebook asking people to be careful with the way that they put their trash out there because they wanted to stay safe as well. Well, that was picked up by some news stations here, and he found himself on the radio talking about how people can help to keep the trash men and the trash women safe out there in the community. And it was an amazing moment. It was a right now moment where he was given a platform to be able to be an encouragement to other people. Don't miss your moment to make a difference where you are right now. I think of another story with Greg and Rachel Salee. They've been a part of our Bonita Valley family for a lot of years, and they're small group leaders. Both of them, along with a number of other people who were part of their small group, and a team of 20 actually that were going to be next weekend in Tijuana building a home for a needy family, but because of COVID-19, the trip was canceled. The project is headed up by Pastor Ray Hahn. He's the pastor of our Primetimers, and what's amazing about this project is that all of it was fully funded by the Primetimers, where they raised the money for a fully built, fully furnished home to be gifted and given to this needy family in Mexico. Well, because the trip was canceled, Greg and Rachel wanted to do something different. They didn't just want to miss a moment. They looked for another opportunity to make a difference right where they were at. So what they did is they emailed Pastor Ray, and here's what they wrote. They said, "Hi, Pastor Ray. So sad, but understand the canceling of our trip next month. Hope we can reschedule for a future trip, God willing. Anyway, wanted to reach out to see if you have any seniors needing extra assistance with anything during this vulnerable time. I wanted to get our family as well as ask our small group to find creative ways of extending our love and thoughts safely, of course. Here are some ideas, but I really would like your input because you know your sheep." And they began to list some different things in the email. They talked about sending letters and cards and picking up prescriptions or groceries or necessities and dropping off gift bags of waters and snack or treats and flowers. making phone calls to check in on them, and they included some different attachments that they thought would be an encouragement to help them. Here you have a family in a small group of people who could have easily found themselves frustrated because of a trip that was canceled, but instead they looked for another right now moment where they can make a difference. Listen, friends, don't miss your moment to make a difference where you are right now. I think of one other with Stephen Barnhill is another big part of our family. He and his wife Sharon have been attending Bonita Valley for a lot of years. He knew that I was going through my recovery time with my knee, and there were several times where he contacted me by phone and by text and said, listen, I'm out of the store right now, and I just wanted to call. I just wanted to find out to see if there's anything that you needed that I could pick up for you while I was gone. And I just thought that was incredible generosity. And knowing the bigness of Stephen's heart, I just believe that it was more than just me that he reached out to. I have to believe that he was reaching out to others as well. Listen, I don't care who you are. Don't miss your moment to make a difference where you are right now, because God can take your right now moment to change the life, encourage the life, to bring hope and healing to someone else's heart simply because you make yourself available for God to use. Can I just tell you today that God wants to use your life to make a difference in someone else's life today? And He will use you right now if you will let Him. Listen, you and I have no idea the impact that we can have, the difference that we can make when we are willing to step into our right now moments. Let me close with this. There's a movie that came out in 2016 called Hacksaw Ridge. It's this powerful and moving story that is about World War II Army medic Desmond Doss, who found himself in the Battle of Okinawa. He's the first American soldier to ever have received a Medal of Honor without firing a shot. Because of his religious beliefs, he refused to carry or to shoot a weapon. But here's a guy who found himself in a place where his acts of bravery under horrific conditions helped to save the lives of 75 American soldiers in one of the bloodiest parts of the war. And if you've seen the movie, you know that there's this moment that takes place on top of Hacksaw Ridge where a battle had already taken place and the American soldiers had retreated and were regrouping. But Desmond was up top there, and he stayed there because he kept hearing the cries of the American soldiers calling for a medic. And rather than leave, the story goes, and you see it in the movie as it unfolds, where he would crawl over to an American soldier and he would get him and he would pull over to the ridge and wrap a rope around him and lower him down to a place of safety below. And there's a prayer that he prayed every single time that he did when he turned to go after another soldier. His prayer was just simply this: please, God, help me just get one more. Help me just get one more. And he would go off and he would crawl and he would find another soldier and he would bring him back, and he would find himself putting a rope around him and lowering him down to a place of safety. And he would ask that prayer one more time: please, God, help me get just one more. And over and over and over, he would crawl out there to the point of exhaustion. And as the story is told, he helped to save 75 different American soldiers, all because of his willingness not only to step into a right now moment, but because of an amazing prayer that he cried out to God when he said, God, please help me get just one more. Can you imagine for a moment what would happen if we prayed a simple prayer like that every single day? God, would you please just give us one more? Would you please just give us one more opportunity to love someone, one more opportunity to serve someone, one more opportunity to bless someone, one more opportunity to forgive someone, one more opportunity to pray for someone? Can you imagine for a moment if we were just willing to do that one day at a time, one person at a time, one moment at a time, if we just simply kept choosing to make a difference every single day, wherever we go, wherever we are, finding ourselves in a moment where we just want to make a difference with where we are right now. I just think that if we choose to live like that, if we choose to live with that kind of openness, if we choose to live and position our right now moments in a way where God can use them, I just think that when we look back on 2020, years down the road, when we're telling stories and people ask us what it was like to live through this, I just think that when we look back on this moment, that we're going to be able to say, you know what? We didn't just get through it. We didn't just survive it. But like Esther, when we found ourselves facing for such a time as this moment, we stepped up. And we made a decision to meet our moment, and we didn't miss it. I just want to encourage you today that no matter where you are right now, don't miss the moment to make a difference where you are right now with your life. Because in the same way that God used Esther, He can do the same thing with you as well right now. I want to pray for you as we close here today. Father, I just pray for this moment in time that we are facing. Lord, we really are at a historical moment in our history, and we are positioned for such a time as this. And God, I pray that in the days ahead that we would live our lives in such a way where you can use us. God, we don't want to come to a place where we look back on missed opportunities and missed moments and moments when we could have used our gifts and our abilities and our resources. God, we don't want to miss those moments. We are standing face to face with a moment right now. Would you give us the courage to meet it and not miss it? Would you give us the courage to step into it and not shrink back from it? God, I pray for all those who may be struggling right now and are hurting right now, and they're trying to process and figure out how to get through what they're going through and can't even imagine trying to emotionally have any bandwidth in their heart to be able to look beyond their own pain and their own situation to help somebody else out. God, I pray today that your grace would just be released, that you would encourage them, that they would even know that, God, yes, you can use them today as well. God, use all of us. And when we come face to face with a moment in time where you want to use our lives, our right now moments, use us, God. May those be moments that we meet and that we don't miss, defining moments that we refuse to let go, that like Esther, we can find ourselves looking at a moment for such a time as this, where you used our lives to touch someone else's life in a significant way. And we thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.